I don't really know who's Quantum Bank or Stephen Ho.
Okay, yeah, well, we'd love to talk to you about just how that came to your desk. We're not, not insinuating anything, just curious. But you said 405-0702?
405.
Who are you guys, by the way?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No problem. We're journalists investigating this story right now. So there's a lot of different investigations going on that surround this whole thing that my partner just kind of laid out for you guys. So we're just trying to get to the bottom of a few things, and we have a lot of questions. If you can help us, that'd be great.
Because I'm very sick and I don't really have time for journalists. So please leave me alone. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well. Change.
Thank you. It worked. Yep, appreciate it.
Now, immediately after that interaction, a researcher on this team found something that you would consider straight from a Hollywood script, and not even necessarily one that's been redacted for the Chinese market. Now, you remember how Ms. Fu told my reporters that she didn't really know Matt Stacey and that she notarized documents for a lot of people? That could be the case. As it turns out, Google Street View has excellent photographs of both Ms. Fu's Edmond residence as well as of JN Green Grow, a shuttered weed farm owned by Xu Jiani and fronted by Matt Stacey. A picture is worth 1,000 grams. Now, as you can see, the same two-door 28 Robin's Egg Jeep Wrangler is at both locations. And according to Geico records, that Jeep is registered to Fu's Edmond address. Now, armed with this information, because you've heard that knowledge is power, sometimes it is. In this case, it was. My team went back to see why Ms. Fu said she had no knowledge of things she clearly knows.
Let's just talk. Hi. Hi, we were just talking to you upstairs.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, so we just wanted to clarify something because we came back and had a discussion. And what I have the document right here.
I have no idea.
Are you sure? Because it is her address, is Ms. Fu's address in Edmond, Oklahoma. So this, right here on this document we have, it was signed for by Quantic Bank, approved by Stephen Ho, which she says she has no knowledge of.
Am I she?
I don't know, but maybe, can we get her number from you? Because we do have photo evidence of her Jeep at an illicit marijuana farm that she claimed to have no knowledge of, and the same Jeep parked in front of her residence in Edmond, Oklahoma, that was signed for by Stephen Ho at Quantic Bank. That was mortgaged. Are you sure? Are you positive? Can we get her number, please? We'd like to clarify this. We don't want to report things that aren't true. Let me bring it back up and see what else is there.
Also noteworthy of Fu, she's just filled with criminal nuggets, is her phone number is listed as the contact number for Wangxin Fanmei, a service provider that offers full supervision services for overseas students studying in America. Now, the site is new. It was created on December 26, 2023, and it advertises a relationship, seemingly official, with the University of Oklahoma College of Aeronautics. Having our suspicions, we reached out to a representative directly for the university to see if there was any kind of an official Fu connection.
I've never heard that name before, and I don't know why they'd be advertising us because we're a kids program.
Yeah.
Based out of Norman, Oklahoma. So, can you tell me what that website is so I can look into it?
Sure. By the looks of it, they just kind of copy-pasted your website's homepage onto theirs. It's called Wangxin Fanmei, so it's WANGXIN FAN MEI.com.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for doing that. I will definitely look into that, and I'll probably have to get OU Legal involved.
After exhausting the willingness of Mamamas employees to talk, we decided to contact Stephen Ho, the man who signed Miss Fu's mortgage and see what he had to say.
I'm a tax-paying American, and I'm not anyone that's doing any illegal activities.
So I have this clear, you don't know off the top of your head, you don't know Yi Yaofu.
I do not.
Okay.
It was a very busy time in those last couple of years, so I do not know anyone specifically.
What was Quantic's response when they were made aware that so much of their financing was helping facilitate this?
Yeah, you'd have to ask them. I don't know, how they reacted. That might have been a PR level for them that I was not part of.
Okay.
So I really don't know. Yeah.
How much would you have to look into each individual loan that you were issuing? Like about the prospective borrower, like the quality control. How much would you have to look into the prospective borrower before you decide, or was it just kind of a numbers game for you?
Yeah, Lynn, like those 2 years, any experienced originator were having career years. So everyone was so busy.
Right. There was just
they were doing they were just taking applications and double checking that they qualified and helping get a loan. In hindsight, now that this is you're the, I don't know which question, how many people have said to me, like in hindsight now the question I need to ask, not that they'll give me an honest answer, is to ask those extra questions. By the way, what are you going to do with this property?
Now, to be fair, it does seem like Ho was unaware of exactly what Quantic was up to. He may be an idiot, but it also looks like Quantic operated with the attitude of it's best not to ask questions. Okay, so let's back up. We now know that New York-based Quantic Bank financed the purchase of multiple properties in Oklahoma, as well as illicit weed farms in Maine. All right, these mortgages are signed off by Yingchang Wang or Stephen Ho. These are the loan originators. Quantic, led by Stephen Ho, also wrote the mortgage for an Edmond, Oklahoma property purchased by Yi Yaofu, who also has a property in Flushing, Queens, the hub of China's United States drug network. Now, in addition to being the primary contact for a service provider to Chinese students in America that may or may not exist, Yi Yaofu is the owner of Mama Consult LLC based out of Oklahoma City. Mama Consult LLC helps Chinese nationals obtain marijuana grow licenses in Oklahoma by helping them circumvent industry standards as chill as they may be, including the requirement that 75% of the farms must be owned by an Oklahoma resident. Ms. Fu acts in this role herself. Fu is a public notary. She notarized a groundwater usage permit application for JN Operations LLC in Shujini. The farm has subsequently been shut down and the owner arrested as of December 28, 2023. JN Operations has listed as the primary contact one Matt Stacy, an infamous Oklahoma attorney with personal relationships with the governor and point of contact for more than 300 marijuana farms in Oklahoma. Stacy has also been charged with 13 marijuana-related felonies. So to sum this all up, Quantic loaned money to multiple Chinese nationals in Oklahoma, including the owner of Mama Consult, Yi Yaofu, who on at least one occasion worked hand in glove with Oklahoma's most notorious weed magnate, Matt Stacy, to set up an illicit marijuana farm that is now under seizure order by the state of Oklahoma. Okay, so we've told you about the operations, the destruction, and the players on the ground. But at the end of the day, there's one entity pulling the real strings. And it's not a crime boss, it's not just a mortgage broker, or even a bank. The Chinese Communist Party's cooperation with the triads has been incredibly well documented and has foundations stemming from the handover of Hong Kong by Britain to China in the late 1990s. Writing for the publication Foreign Policy, J. Michael Cole describes this evolution as it relates to the relationship. By the 1990s, triads were well established in both Hong Kong and Taiwan, and the CCP had gone from seeing them as a brutal opponent to a useful tool. After the handover, the relationship evolved in what was now Chinese territory. Pro-Beijing gangsters threatened and on a few occasions physically assaulted activists and the few media outlets that remained critical of Beijing. So pro-Beijing gangsters have remained active in suppressing any type of anti-communist Chinese sentiment, including in 2017 when triads assaulted a group of pro-Hong Kong democracy protesters at the Hong Kong airport. We also know that the CCP and the triad work hand in glove when it comes to money laundering. For example, in 2021, the Commission of Inquiry into Money Laundering in BC revealed that a Chinese national earning about $40,000 a year, decent income, purchased $32 million worth of real estate in Vancouver, Canada. And we know that it's a country that's good at math. It doesn't add up. A related summons showed that between 2011 and 2020, Hong Kong depositors moved $166 million into BC accounts. Unsurprisingly, these depositors were linked directly to organized crime and the CCP, with one depositor being a member of China's foreign influence program. So that brings us to our story. Right back. We know these operations connect far beyond Oklahoma. We know they have international ties, including the Mexican cartel.
A U.S. Treasury official tells NBC News that Chinese criminal organizations are operating in the U.S. and now working with Mexican cartels by helping them launder money made from meth, fentanyl, and other drugs.
These Chinese entities with direct connections to the Communist Chinese government facilitating drug trafficking, namely fentanyl, okay, for the Mexican cartels, it's such an open secret that it took center stage November 2023 in a meeting between Joe Biden and Xi Jinping in San Francisco.
Biden said that he and Xi got to restart cooperation, too, in countering narcotics. They got to talk about the fentanyl crisis and the production of those precursors to fentanyl, those precursors, the chemicals that are produced in China.
So the question becomes, are these Chinese crime organizations really operating independently of the Chinese Communist Party? After all, it's kind of difficult to believe that the world's largest surveillance state could be so blind to such large-scale, burning, smelly operations. As it turns out, Beijing isn't blind. Maybe not the best peripheral vision, but not blind. And in fact, they're utilizing these criminal organizations for their own means. Here's a leaked Border Patrol memo that laid out exactly how profits from illicit marijuana operations flow directly back to China. And of course, these profits can be quite lucrative. It's immensely profitable if you have slaves doing the work. That's kind of a big thing. More slaves right now on Earth than ever in recorded history. You can look it up. You can use my source or any source available to you because of situations like this. Now, according to Mr. Woodward at OBN, they've intercepted truckloads of marijuana worth at least $28 million. Mr. Woodward went into detail on the Chinese government's involvement specifically in Oklahoma.
It comes as a shock to me that these large-scale organizations could be operating in the United States in such a large degree without some sort of at least tacit approval from the Chinese Communist Party. Is there any link there that you've seen or identified where you at least see involvement or kind of approval from the CCP? Is there any indication of that at all?
Well, there's 100% evidence that the Chinese Communist Party is absolutely aware of everything that their citizens are doing within the borders of their country and our U.S. borders. There's no doubt. They monitor everything. They monitor their people, their activities, the movement of the money. It's much like with the fentanyl crisis. China publicly said they're going to crack down on the exportation of fentanyl out of China. But privately, they've done nothing to stop it, and they know exactly what's happening. And it's no different with the Chinese Communist Party's involvement in marijuana in the United States. This is well documented, and I've seen other documentaries that have aired where one of the big parts of the Chinese Communist Party, one of their primary goals is, one, acquire as much U.S. land as you can, and number two, acquire and gather as much and collect U.S. currency as possible. That's why people say, why are they involved in marijuana? Because it accomplishes both of those goals. You need thousands of acres of land, sometimes for just a few farms in places like Oklahoma, and it's an all-cash business, and 40 states have legalized it. So that's accomplishing their goals. And specifically talking about Oklahoma, I can't get into a lot of details, but I can tell you that we have identified people who are considered national security risks tied to the Chinese Communist Party, identified on Oklahoma farms as among these people that come and check and monitor the activities of the farms and the workers themselves. They are linked to high-ranking people within the Chinese government that we personally have identified here in Oklahoma on these farms.
No, I'm not a Chinese national, but this math adds up. We all know that China's been buying up farmland across the United States, and they've been securing troves of hard U.S. currency. At least, well, I hope you know. If not, now you know. And even though China claims it wants the world to convert to their own currency, the yuan, they reportedly have more than $3 trillion in foreign currency that is off the books. They're Eddie Haskelling it.
You're the one that did it. Yeah, but if you go around squealing on guys, nobody's gonna like you.
To further understand the Chinese Communist Party's goals here, we reached out to John Cassera, a former Cold War intelligence officer and a special agent at the U.S. Treasury, who told us this. Regarding direct links between the CCP and transnational crime, you must understand that China is a command state, whether it be the fentanyl trade or the online advertising for illegal products, organ harvesting, illicit tobacco, counterfeiting, which represents about 2% of China's GDP, illicit fishing, human trafficking. None of this could happen without the CCP's consent. Chinese actors in the United States cannot be here without the permission of the central government. What do they have to gain? President Xi has publicly stated that the West is declining and China is ascending. Criminal activity has become part of China's strategy to grow its power in conjunction with its authoritarian statecraft, military buildup, espionage, theft, deception, trade, loans, debt traps, payoffs, influence operations, etc., to structure a 21st century with Chinese, quote, characteristics. Look, the aim of the CCP here is pretty clear. Xi Jinping has stated himself that he intends to see the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. And we have internal CCP memos that outline a strategy showing that this rejuvenation means displacing the American order and instead replacing it, instituting Beijing's own. So of course they would want to own United States farms. And of course they would want to be involved with the illicit marijuana industry in Oklahoma. But it's just one tool that Beijing is using to enrich itself and undermine the United States. But sometimes when the scope feels so big, you get lost in this game and forget that there are real life consequences for everyday Americans.
It's killing, absolutely killing the legitimate industry. As I said before, the first 2 years, we probably had close to 4,000 farms, and most of those were run by just local people trying to make a go of it. So the market was already oversaturated. And then you have an influx of 5,000 more farms that we've linked back to Mexican organized crime, Chinese organized crime, that try to look legitimate on the surface, but they're all criminal and they're growing for $100 a pound.
We're going to undercut the legitimate growers, for sure.
Yeah, legitimate growers cannot compete. They're having to grow for $800 a pound, and they say I can barely make payroll.
It's not exactly healthy or positive or strengthening America to have this happening right in our backyards. It's making the cost of living far more expensive everywhere. It's destroying Maine's housing stock. It's reducing our available housing supply, increasing the price of electricity. It's bad for the environment. And oh, by the way, the product that they're producing is laced with pesticides and fungicides. It's not tested. It's not regulated. It's not at the standard of the legal product that comes out of Maine. And one of the fungicides that they use is called Eagle 20, and it's approved for use on your tomatoes because it's going to be okay if you eat it, but when you smoke it, it turns into cyanide gas.
Brother, they killed our American dream out here. Is how I feel about it. That's what me and my wife saved up, and this was all in with our family to do. I was going to build a farm out here at a house and live the rest of my life, and this is what I wanted to do. And I feel like I was wrong.
And those are just the Americans who know about it, who've seen the screw job take place. It could just as easily be you. When you have foreign entities who have specifically stated that their goal is to subvert the Western American way of life, and to do so through operations within your own country, how many businesses have been shattered? How many people who've gone missing? How many years of record border crossings with people in our elected representative establishment who do nothing about it? At what point does that damage you? For all of the seen damage, there's unseen damage that can't even begin to be quantified. You feel it every day, and right now we're showing you what we can verify, but there are intangible variables. You can't put your finger on it. Why? Because no one wants you to put your finger on it. You can't quantify it. Why? Because no one wants you to quantify it. We know it's in the trillions. That's a starting point. We know it's in the millions as far as slaves. We know it's in the hundreds of thousands as far as illegal border crossings every year. We know that it's in the hundreds of thousands to tens of millions of acres as far as American farmland that you may never get back. We know it's in the billions of dollars that was lost during COVID, that was foisted upon us by, again, to some degree, and by some I mean all degree, the Communist Chinese government and complicit representatives who weren't looking out for you. We do what we can here, and we appreciate your support. We really do. The Mug Club Undercover Unit here, the investigative journals, none of this will ever happen without your support. Hey, take a guess why. Why do you think we're not monetized on any mainstream platform? The same reason that John Cena had to apologize for acting like Taiwan even existed. It's a growing market. It's a very powerful government who gets to determine winners and losers with the world's most powerful companies that you depend on every single day for your daily necessities to the information that you can consume. We don't know exactly how deep it goes, but my God, on the surface, it already sucks, doesn't it, John Cena?
我有一个错误，我必须说，现在就是很重要。我爱更尊重中国，更中国人。我很抱歉对我的错误，对不起，我很抱歉。你必须了解，我很爱，很尊重中国跟中国人。